Police and community members came together in the Bronx in a unity march. A former NYPD lieutenant says police are afraid of being arrested when they enforce the law. This is because of new police reforms. He says the reforms are putting black and brown people in danger. NTD's Kevin Hogan has more on how residents and the police are working together in the city.
Police and residents marched in solidarity at the Big Unity and Police March in the Bronx. Community leaders, clergy, and law enforcement officials came together to strengthen ties and show support. Patrick Lynch is the president of the world's largest city police union. He says the city is not helping the police do their job, and the number of shootings is nearly the same as in the early 90s when the city was out of control.
You're passing laws that make it difficult. You're defunding and slashing the budgets of police agency, and crime is going up. Policing is not a difficult concept. We need enough police officers to do the job effectively, and we need the community and our elected support to do it.
New York City's law banning chokeholds also prohibits officers from compressing a suspect's diaphragm when arresting them. DAs can charge officers with a misdemeanor if they do any move that limits breathing. Now nearby police agencies are telling their officers not to go into the city to make arrests. Lynch is unhappy with the Democratic mayor and council because he says they are making the police's work difficult.
We've endorsed President Trump because the Democratic Party has run away from law enforcement. They're defunding and slashing our budgets and making it impossible to do the work.
Raisa Galvez says most people in this community want to work with police. She says although there may be some divides, the media is showing the two aren't working together.
We're showing that there's no division in the community. There's still peace within us and that we get along with them, and we're still trying to work with the community. So everything else that you hear in the media or the optics are not true. We're trying to bring everyone together again.
Galvez says the residents don't want the police out of their communities, they want them together. Some who want to defund the police argue taxpayer money can be better spent on services for mental health, addiction, and homelessness, and there should be healthcare teams that respond to overdose calls instead of police.
3, 2, 1.
Yet some say defunding the police could result in a lack of de-escalation training and not being able to recruit talented officers as the pay would be less.
To be sure that they're not.
The city cut its police budget by $1 billion. Lynch says they've already canceled 2 police academy classes and are short-staffed. Kevin Hogan, NTD News, New York.
And a political science professor challenged his liberal arts college after they mandated that all staff members complete diversity, bias, and inclusion training. The professor faced losing his job for refusing to take the training, but he said it goes against the core values of traditional liberal arts. NTD's Melina Weiskup has more.
It's frankly the corruption of the academic world and the academic world moving away from its core values.
Professor Polvordi says it's getting harder and harder to tell the truth. After nearly losing his job for challenging Converse College's new mandatory bias training.
Because the assumption is, if you disagree with me, there must be something wrong with you. And I'll fix you through a radical extension of imposed therapy. Because really, the administration was not inviting me or my colleagues to enter into a dialogue about race. They were ordering me and my colleagues to report for re-education.
He got thousands of letters of encouragement. Philanthropists and professors from Princeton University even started a fund to pay for his attorney and pay for his 2-year salary if he did lose his job over this dispute. Many of his colleagues said he was saying what they wish they had the courage to say.
The proper liberal education response is not ideological conformity, is not the assumption of systemic racism, is not the assumption of unconscious bias, but rather to listen to the informed voices that teach our students how complicated these issues are, and then to try to...
Saying that accepting that there's only one right answer is completely opposite from the traditions of liberal arts. Because he says at the core of liberal arts is teaching people how to disagree with someone without dehumanizing them, which is something Polvordi says our country has lost. So for him, the entire core principles of liberal arts are at stake, which is why he had the courage to stand up and resist.
One is you have to believe there's a right and wrong, and you have to try to put yourself on the side of the right, and you have to believe that whether it's in Eastern philosophy, it's the will of heaven, or whether or not Western philosophy, it's the truth that God wants us to live according to. You abandon those truths, your human life means nothing.
Pulvorty considers it a victory because in the end, he didn't lose his job and didn't have to take the training that he says propels ideological conformity.
I'm doing the thing that I love doing more than anything else in the world, and that is opening up young minds to the complexity and depth and beauty of the world around them.
His message is that when the leaders abandon core values, that's when it's time to stand up. Reporting by Melina Weiskup, NTD News.
This Thursday, a top Chinese official went to inspect a megacity hit by record flooding, which has now plagued areas in southern China for nearly 3 months. It's his second visit to a flood-stricken region, but one local suspects the disaster victims he spoke with are actually actors. NTD's Juliet Song reports.
China's Premier Li Keqiang went to Chongqing for a 2-day visit on Thursday. The area is now facing one of its worst floods in history. Chongqing is located in China's southwest. The megacity is around the size of Maine. Video posted online show roads submerged in water. Media reports say over 250,000 people were evacuated. Chinese media reports Li visited areas hit hard by flood waters, but a local says she suspects that the flood victims Li met with could have been actors arranged by local government authorities. A video circulating on the internet shows Li speaking to locals.
If you guys have any difficulties, just let me know.
One person in the video responded,
"We don't have any difficulties right now."
but this local has doubts.
The flooding has caused quite a damage. Many places are submerged in water. Li Keqiang came to Chongqing and asked locals if they're facing any challenges. The person in the video says there are none, but we actually have a lot of struggles.
The same day Li visited, local authorities arrested 11 human rights activists in the area.
A group of people stopped me while I was walking along the road. Then they took me to the local police station. No one said why they were doing it. So I was detained for hours just out of the blue.
Chinese state media has stayed unusually quiet about Li's visit. Two of China's major state-run news outlets, Xinhua and People's Daily, didn't even cover his trip. The Chinese State Council website was the only source to publish the news. An expert said the state media's silence carries a political signal. Speaking to Hong Kong media Apple Daily, he said the move indicated Li holds a weak position in the Communist Party's internal power struggle. Juliet Song, NTD News.
All industries are experiencing unprecedented times due to the pandemic. But thanks to oil's price crash, that industry is especially tumultuous. Now, a refinery deal between Saudi Arabia and China has been suspended.
Saudi Arabia has halted working together with a Chinese company on a joint project. The oil refinery deal was worth $10 billion. According to sources who told Bloomberg, Saudi Arabia's state company Aramco won't back the petrochemical plant anymore because they are adapting to low oil prices. Oil plummeted to below zero a few months ago. Now the company has stopped investing in the Chinese site. All industries took a hit from the economic fallout of the pandemic, but the oil industry is facing unprecedented times due to the pandemic and the recent oil price crash. The project was signed last year in February when Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman visited China. Back then, it was seen as a landmark deal between two allies. Saudi Arabia wanted to increase its market in Asia. At the same time, they wanted Chinese investments in their kingdom. Neither Aramco nor its Chinese counterparts commented on the reports so far. According to Bloomberg, the Chinese will go ahead the project themselves in northeast China. Sources say China might partner up with Saudi Arabia again in the future.